What first comes to your mind when you hear team-based video game? Is it a MOBA like League of Legends, where the most hyped moments are the epic team plays that can ultimately determine which side wins or loses? Perhaps you think of Rocket League, a game which basically emulates the real-life team sport of soccer, just with the fun of RC car shenanigans added on top. Or maybe you're thinking of that almost 2-decade-old first-person shooter. You know, the one that literally has team in its name. Well, one way or another, these are all amazing team-based experiences in their own regards, but you didn't click on the video because the thumbnail had any of those games in it, now did you? In my subjectively objective opinion, there's one game which manages to take home the trophy of being the most team-based video game ever. Deep Rock Galactic is a game where you work as a blue-collar space dwarf, and your job is to shoot bugs and mine on the hostile planet Hoxie's 4, accompanied with up to 3 other dwarves that were unfortunate enough to be dropped down with you. A lot of people play this game for the exciting and frenetic bug genocide, as they may have been sold on the idea that the Horde-style gameplay of DRG is just as good, if not better, than that of the Left 4 Dead series. Many others enjoy the more chilled vibes of a mission when you're just mining for rocks and stones, whether the greater goal in mind is to get rich enough to buy new weapons and new drip, or perhaps the simplicity of completing tasks and watching your bank account balloon is in itself all the fun that's needed. Nevertheless, no matter how you enjoy Deep Rock Galactic, you'll quickly realize how essential your fellow dwarves are to your enjoyment. For instance, the engineer dwarf is able to create platforms using a special platform gun. It's very versatile and a great way to help you and your team traverse up and down chasms efficiently and effectively. More importantly, this platform gun arguably helps out the other dwarves more so than the engineer himself, with one dwarf in particular benefiting the most from it. Quite often will minerals be located high off the ground, meaning they can only be reached by the scout dwarf, who has his own DRG-sanctioned grappling hook. The problem is, more often than not, once the scout managed his way up there, unless...
Gold. Rock and stone, yeah!
Now, that looks like a pretty cool display of teamwork, doesn't it? If you're into this kind of stuff, I'm happy to say that DRG is a game built upon these kinds of interactions and synergies between all the dwarf classes. However, for better or worse, this kind of behavior is standard in Deep Rock Galactic, or in other words, it's obligatory. If you're playing the engineer and do indeed create platforms for your scouts, well, that's just you doing your job. If you aren't setting up those platforms, now you're just being an asshole. This particular transitioning of teamwork to obligation is seen in all cooperative games, with no exceptions. If you're a healer main in any genre of video, you know exactly what I mean by this. But then, Aaron, you probably aren't asking, if the teamwork of Deep Rock is so standardized to the point that it's not a unique feature of the game anymore, what is the thing that sets it apart from the other team-based games? In Team Fortress 2, as much as everyone respects the team's medic, very few players actually give a damn about their safety. In fact, he's so out of sight, out of mind a lot of the time that even the patient a medic is taking care of might not notice a spy just took him out a second ago. And who can blame them really? It's hard to look out for your medic when a billion things are going on right in front of you. As a cat main in League of Legends, I love roaming around to see if I can help the side lanes through ganking. The thing is, doing so too much can cause you to waste precious time outside your own lane. If your roams show no beneficial outcomes, that's the closest you can get to throwing your own lane without it being intentional. Ironically, most team-based games aren't actually oriented around helping one another proactively. I'd say a good chunk of your time will be spent minding your own business until interacting with the team is necessitated. Come to think of it, that almost sounds like a goddamn office job, doesn't it? Deep Rock Galactic, however, doesn't have this problem. Underneath the action-packed wave shooting, the fashion-based drip building, the rocking and stoning, making people's lives easier is a core aspect of DRG's gameplay loop. And so, if you're anything like me, you'll find that the most fun you can have in the caves is through gamifying the act of going out of your way to help the team, no matter what your dwarf class and therefore dedicated role in the mission is. If I see a teammate fixing up a mini-meal, which typically takes a very long time alone, I'll immediately drop what I'm doing and help them out as well. If I see someone mining a large mineral vein, but they forgot to call Molly whilst doing so, I'll preemptively bring her to my colleague so they won't have to wait too long for her to arrive once they've finished mining. I specifically reserve my scout's grenade pouch for a jar that causes enemies to attack one another rather than taking something more battle-oriented, because it greatly increases my effectiveness as the team's honorary medic. And as a DRG exclusive, although only the engineer can place down sentries, you can always be certain that I'll be assisting NGs with building them up whenever I can as whatever dwarf I'm playing. I could go on and on about the many other things I love to do in order to help my team when playing Deep Rock Galactic, but I'll leave you with some food for thought instead. If a video game can make you work willingly with your teammates, it's a good team-based game. Yet, if a video game can make you care for your teammates, now that definitely sounds like the most team-based video game ever, and I hope you agree with this idea too. Of course, on the off chance you know about an even more team-based game than the most team-based game ever, you're very welcome to tell me about it down in the comments. Either way, if you found today's ramble somewhat interesting, perhaps give the video a like, and if you're new here, why not subscribe? For now though, this is literally all I wrote, so I suppose I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, take care.